Stories of miraculous survival and heartbreaking sorrow continue to unfold in the fallout from the deadliest tornado outbreak in the U.S. in more than a decade. The death count is still rising as the search continues. More than 100 people are still missing.
Relief is pouring in from all corners of the country. Jenna Browder reports on what's being done to meet immediate needs and what lies ahead on the long road to recovery.
It's day 4 of cleanup and recovery in the country's heartland as we learn more about the storm's victims and hear harrowing stories of survival.
It happened so fast. I mean, the glass was flying and then the roof come down and the walls are caving in.
In hard-hit Mayfield, Kentucky, this man's home was left in shambles.
Like a war zone. Unimaginable.
Many losing everything.
We lost everything. We lost our home. We lost all of our vehicles, all of our belongings. We basically have nothing.
At least 44 tornadoes reported across 9 states, the deadliest tornado outbreak in the U.S. in more than a decade. Homes and businesses flattened, damage as far as the eye can see.
The whole building fell. We are stuck.
This cell phone video taken by a woman stuck inside a candle factory that collapsed. In Illinois, 6 people died in an Amazon warehouse that also collapsed. OSHA is investigating. An emotional governor of Kentucky on his state's rising death count.
Of the ones that we know, the age range is 5 months to 86 years, and 6 are younger than 18.
In Missouri, a young victim mourned. 9-year-old Addiston Rackley died in the storm. Her mother, Megan, still fighting for her life. The community coming together to pray.
Lord, for all the nurses and the doctors.
Meanwhile, support from across the country is pouring in.
Did y'all get food?
The Salvation Army among the organizations distributing food and supplies.
A lot of this area is a poorer area, and rebuilding is going to take time. And the big thing is the outpour of love and affection and support is here now. This is day 3, day 4, but what's going to happen on week 2, week 3, week 4?
CBN's Operation Blessing, working with church partners on the ground to deliver food, water, and other necessities.
There are those immediate things, food, warmth, sometimes tarps, things of that nature.
And President Biden has approved a disaster declaration for Kentucky and says he'll soon approve an emergency request for Illinois. He's expected to visit Kentucky tomorrow. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Well, Anthony Lloyd is the Senior Director of U.S. Disaster Relief for Operation Blessing. He joins us now live from Bowling Green, Kentucky. So, Anthony, you've been involved in a lot of disasters, a lot of disaster sites. How does this one compare to other disasters you've seen?
Good morning, Gordon. We're here in Bowling Green, and it's intimidating to see the damage in these areas around Bowling Green. The storm did quite a number on some of the neighborhoods and the infrastructure around here, truly looming over the area, and caused a lot of destruction and caused a lot of loss of life. So yes, very, very stark.
How can you tell us about the impact on people there? How are they responding?
Yeah, the impact has been, of course, there's been a loss of life, as your viewers have been informed of, and the reports that we've received through our partners are individuals that were in their homes at the time storm hit, and then after you look at the house visiting when the storm passed, there's no way to discern a home even there, and the individual walked out of it. So they've gone through a lot, and their attitudes are picking up. They've been encouraged by the pastors. The Lord is moving in the community as they start that path to recovery, but many have had experiences of being in their homes or their bathtub as the storm hits, sometimes singing praises to God and Him actually protecting them.
Well, tell us about Operation Blessing. What are we there doing, and what are our efforts to help?
Yes, thank you, Gordon. Right now, Operation Blessing has conducted some outreach with partner churches. We've conducted 2 days of assessments, both in Tennessee and in Kentucky, here in Bowling Green. And in those conversations with our church partners, they've asked for disaster relief loads, which thankfully the partners of the Hunger Strike Force have dropped one, and there's another one scheduled today. And then we seek to look at opportunities for longer-term recovery, and we'll continue to provide loads to support the needs as they come in. Things such as water and warmth and tarps and things like that.
What are you thinking of in terms of longer-term recovery?
Well, that's where you got to kind of really put the hand to the plow. The individuals that come in like we do early on to help that initial kickoff, sometimes their staying power is impacted because the longer term road is harder. It requires more time and materials, and so we're going to very carefully plan and work with through our church partners to meet those needs, to try and find those homes that we can actually get a roof on, put some siding on, and really kind of hang in there with them as they go further down the road, rather than just the initial the initial impact, which of course we're involved in now.
All right, Anthony, thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being there in their time of need. And that's your hand extended. If you're a member of the 700 Club, you're part of that. A portion of every gift you give goes into the work of Operation Blessing to deliver food. Right now, we're delivering food, water, and other relief supplies to those who are in need right there on the ground. And then we're not going to stop there. We want to be there for the long haul for those. This is going to be a long effort on recovery. If you want to participate in it, you can call us and say, I want to give to the Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. You can write us, CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. Just put disaster relief on the memo line of your check, or you can call us right now, 1-800-700-7000, or visit cbn.com. There's a place on the internet where you can designate your gift to the disaster relief team. So do it now. Let's help those in Kentucky, those in Tennessee, the number of states, the number of people. You look at the vast devastation, what can we do? Well, we can do our part. We can find a place where we can really help people, and you can be a part of it. Call us now, 1-800-700-7000. In other news, newly released text messages show that people close to former President Trump wanted him to take action as the Capitol invasion unfolded. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. At Monday's hearing of the Select Committee investigating the events of January 6, Congresswoman Liz Cheney quoted a text message sent to then Chief of Staff Mark Meadows from Donald Trump Jr. as the mob invaded the Capitol.
To condemn this, Meadows responded, quote, I'm pushing it hard. I agree.
The committee also revealed texts to Meadows from Republican members of Congress and some Fox News hosts calling for action by former President Trump. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives could vote on the committee's recommendation to hold Meadows in contempt of Congress as early as today. This after he stopped cooperating and ignored a subpoena to testify. Before his about-face, Meadows had turned over thousands of records with no claim to executive privilege. Meadows says the investigation is not about making the Capitol safer, rather about attacking former President Trump. Well, the Air Force has, my apologies, getting mixed up here. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the body will vote to raise the debt limit today. The House and Senate earlier paved the way for the vote by passing legislation requiring a simple majority in the Senate. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned the government could reach its spending limit as early as tomorrow. Leader Schumer also said the Senate aims to pass the president's $2 trillion social spending bill before Christmas. However, West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin told President Biden he's still not ready to support the bill, which cannot pass without his vote. The Air Force has discharged 27 airmen for refusing to take the COVID vaccine, none of them requesting a religious exemption. Their release comes as cases across the country are rising by 10% or more in the weeks since Thanksgiving. A new CDC forecast predicts about 40,000 more Americans could die from COVID-19 before the end of the year. To combat rising cases in New York, the governor there is reinstituting a statewide mask mandate. People at indoor public places who do not show proof of vaccination are now required to wear face coverings.
This is a crisis of the unvaccinated. Those are the individuals that are 10 times more likely to be in our hospitals. And this is where I get angry. They cannot sustain this any longer.
Meanwhile, a somber reminder of the toll paid by Americans during the COVID-19 pandemic, with deaths now approaching 800,000. Well, the discovery of a 2,000-year-old synagogue in the region of Galilee in Israel offers a new window into life during the times of Jesus. Israeli archaeologists say they found the synagogue in the town of Migdal, located on the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee. It was the second discovery of a synagogue from biblical times. In 2009, one of the most well-preserved synagogues from the time of the Second Temple was found, and archaeologists say this second synagogue reflected a need for a building dedicated for Torah reading and study. The town is well known for being the home of Mary Magdalene. It's possible Jesus might have preached in one or both of the synagogues. The Bible records miracles he performed in Galilee as well. Migdal is the only place in the world where two synagogues from the Second Temple period have been found in the same area, bringing the Bible to life, Gordon.
Well, it's like it happens every week in Israel, where they kick over a stone and they find something of biblical importance. And here's a synagogue from the Second Temple period, the Temple of Herod, and it shows how dedicated they were to reading the Torah and having regular Torah readings, regular coming together to bring out the scrolls and then read them. And it brings to life when Jesus stood in the synagogue and read from the scroll. He called for the scroll of Isaiah. It's wonderful what's happening in Israel, and it shows the deep connection of the Jewish people to the land. Well, they're living under lockdown with no full access to society or jobs. They're also facing fines and even jail. That's what the unvaccinated are up against in many European countries, and the backlash is growing. Dale Hurd reports on the escalating crackdowns and the rising protests.
When I talked to American Alicia Duran and her German husband Andreas, they were packing, trying to get out of Germany as quickly as possible with their 3 children. They've had enough of Germany's strict COVID policies. Europe is in the midst of an uprising of the unvaccinated, pitting citizens who refuse to get the jab against governments that want the pandemic to end. And neither side is backing down. Nation by nation, Europe is turning into a two-tiered society in which those who refuse to be vaccinated will live under lockdown, without full access to society or jobs, facing fines and even jail. The Durans are leaving Germany after Andreas became unable to work because of COVID restrictions.
I'm not allowed to work anywhere anymore, really, without providing a proof of vaccination or recovery.
Well, there's also no more privacy. Like, you go into the bakery and the cashier will loudly ask you for your vaccine pass if you want to go have a cup of coffee.
Are you vaccinated?
No, like, very loudly. The discrimination is terrible.
It's a similar story across Europe. In Italy, the unvaccinated now must take a COVID test every 48 hours if they want to live a free life. Gunnar Beck, a German member of the European Parliament, calls Europe's COVID policies dangerously authoritarian.
I mean, we're not talking about the Black Death here. I'm not even sure the Black Death would warrant the effective suspension of the rule of law, constitutional government and democracy.
Austria is ground zero for the world's toughest COVID policies. The unvaccinated have already been in lockdown for almost a month. And next year will have to pay $4,000 in fines every 3 months unless they not only get vaccinated, but get booster shots. Eric Hewitt is an American living in Austria with his wife and 5 children.
The government is attempting to transform the society into a totalitarian police state.
Hewitt's unvaccinated children have been kicked out of music school for refusing daily COVID tests. When shopping, their family is only allowed to enter grocery stores and pharmacies.
The toy store. Wouldn't let my wife in to buy a toy for her birthday.
Medical privacy, still a law in Austria, has been breached by the government. The state knows who has and who hasn't been vaccinated. And there are fears the government will use vaccine passports to include new Chinese-style digital identities. Catholic activist Alexander Chuguel says Austrians have become the lab rats of the Western world and believes the Austrian experiment will spread.
Do you want a government which enforces things like abortion, homosexual marriage, other things? So a government which definitely shows that they do not only not follow the teaching of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but rather fight against it. Do you want them to have every information available and full control of where you're allowed to go and where you're not allowed to go, like in China? I say no, and that's the reason we go and protest.
Hewitt has decided to stay in Austria and fight.
God has placed me at a critical battle in the spiritual war. The whole society is becoming this inhuman machine based on fear and repression. And so what I want to restore a human society.
But the Dorans in Germany have had enough.
It's beautiful when people want to stay and fight, but we feel like the fight is lost here.
They see Germany laying the groundwork for its own nationwide vaccine mandate that could include children. Germany's COVID restrictions have been so draconian, this German mother says her 10-year-old daughter wants to die. Beck believes if Germany introduces a vaccine mandate, the EU will follow with a European-wide mandate. Most Europeans are vaccinated, although far fewer have gotten boosters. In Sweden, enthusiastic citizens are voluntarily injecting their vaccine passports into their hands in the form of readable microchips. The protests against Europe's COVID policies are now as far-flung as Barcelona to Brussels to Kiev in Ukraine to Zagreb in the Balkans, where this Croatian IT expert said, "I came here to fight against fascism, totalitarianism, these insane restrictions, and insane politicians." Protesters are demanding what they used to take for granted: freedom. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, I'll echo what that German minister said, that this is not the Black Death. And even if it were the Black Death, would we want to give up our civil liberties to prevent it? So when you look at this virus, and it's a horrible virus, I don't want to minimize the impact of COVID, but when you look at it and say, well, the death rate is 3%, and the death rate is much higher in people over 65, well, then do you want to put your entire culture in lockdown and then create these giant medical databases where you track your population? For me, the answer is no. And you can't possibly say it's worthwhile for our civil liberties to enforce vaccine mandates. Again, no. People have a right to the integrity of their own bodies. So if you want to get vaccinated, and I speak from a standpoint of a person who has been vaccinated, and not just vaccinated, I just got boosted. So, okay, I understand the risk, and I'm over 60, so I'm saying I want to get the vaccination. But if you don't want to, I think you have a perfect right in the United States of America as a citizen to say no. And then you get into this monitoring and all of this. Terry was just talking about the situation in Ukraine. You were talking with someone on the phone, and they were in a restaurant?
They were here. They had just come back from a trip. They were in a restaurant, and only people who were vaccinated and could show that they were allowed in the restaurant. And then at some point, the police came in with some kind of a gadget and they asked people to take out their vaccination IDs, and they checked it to be sure that they were not copies or illegitimate in some way. And so they went from table to table. And
What's the penalty if you don't have a vaccination card or you have a fake one?
Yeah, well, my understanding is you're going to jail, for one thing, and a very high fine for that. And so, you know, as high as $6,000 for some things, I'm told. I don't know, you know, a lot of people wouldn't have that kind of cash available, but it's stringent. In that report, was it not frightening to you the way this seems to just kind of be rolling across Europe? I mean, it's...
Well, I think it goes along with the whole concept that the state is here somehow as the protector of people. And when you have that idea that all benefits flow from the government, then okay, we need to mobilize government to do this. I mean, you're using a very blunt instrument. It doesn't lead to liberty when you have government enforcing these things. Well, here's a news story for you that you're probably not going to hear. The government in Israel has been unable to pass a budget now for, I think, 3 years. And the economy is absolutely booming. So, you know, go figure. When government can't function properly because they've been tied up in election after election after election, so they still have a very good defense force. They pay attention to their military, but they can't pass a national budget. In the middle of that, and in the middle of COVID, their economy is absolutely booming. The tourism is down, and so anyone involved in that is really hurting. But the rest of the economy is going nuts. So that just shows when you get government out of the way, that you actually have liberty, you can have progress. Government is there to ensure that we have liberty, not to take away our liberty. That's the whole point.
And they're not setting citizen against citizen. You know, I mean, that is the part that's frightening to me about what's happening.
Report the unvaccinated.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's your neighbor, let them know they're unacceptable.
Yeah. I love the opening line of the Constitution. We, the people of the United States. The people delegate the power to elected representatives, and the elected representatives should always acknowledge that. So let your voice be heard. If you're against the mandates, if you're against trying to create national databases, all of these enforced things, please let your congressman, please let your senator know how you feel.
She's a playwright, producer, singer, songwriter, actress, best-selling author, and longtime TV host. No wonder this year, Kathie Lee Gifford received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Take a look.
For decades, Americans started their day watching Kathie Lee Gifford on television. She's also a best-selling author, playwright, actress, and Broadway star. Throughout her 45-year career, Kathie Lee has boldly shared her love for Jesus in the mainstream media and has brought those conversations to you. In her new book, The Jesus I Know, she shares her conversations with well-known personalities such as Patty Mallet, China Phillips, and many more to share their experience on who Jesus is in their lives.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club our dear friend, Kathie Lee Gifford. Kathie, how great to see you.
You too, Terry. Lord bless you. We go back how many decades? I don't want to know.
I mean, hey, is there anything you haven't done that you want to do?
Oh gosh. No, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I have a new film coming out in the spring. The first film that I directed and wrote along with my friend Nicole C. Mullen was called The Jesus, the God Who Sees. And it was so profoundly received that I thought, I'm going to spend the rest of my life bringing these epic stories that are in the Bible that just are legendary, and people have never heard them before. A lot of people. I want to bring those stories to life symphonically. So I have an hour-and-a-half movie coming out next year called The Way, which I shot in Israel and Tennessee and Texas and Utah.
You know, you have a gift for taking those Bible stories and telling them in such a relatable way that people grab hold of Jesus that might not have otherwise. I mean, God's really given you a gift for that. Here at the club, we know that your first love is Yeshua. What did the Lord tell you early on about using your talent to reach others in the entertainment industry?
When I accepted Jesus in a little movie theater when I was 12 years old, it was Billy Graham's first movie that came out. I heard the voice of Yeshua as a little Jewish girl say, "Kathie, I love you. And if you'll trust me, I'll make something beautiful out of your life." And I believed him. I believe that even more so now, because now I have decades of looking back on his faithfulness in my life. Not my faithfulness to him, his faithfulness to me. And so that's the message I'm trying to express in our new book too, Terry, that, you know, God is not a cookie cutter God. Jesus never canceled anybody. Jesus went out of his way to to find the broken, find the despairing spirit people, to find those who are wounded and laying there bleeding to death. That Jesus never said, "I'll give you one chance." He never did that. Why do we think it's okay to do that as Christians? So every gift I have, and every day I'm surprised by them, are gifts that He gave to me while I was being woven in that secret place in my mother's womb. The Bible, I love it, says, every good and perfect gift comes from above, streaming down from the heavenly realms. The Father, who does not change like shifting shadows. Terry, think about the world we live in today. Trends change, politics change, the weather changes, fads, everything changes, but not our God. Jesus is
so true.
Yesterday and forever.
Since you left the Today Show in 2019, you've been through a lot of changes, including moving to Nashville. What made you decide to relocate?
I did it. The Lord led me here. The Lord just flat out led me here. I was co-writing all the music for a film that I'd written for my friend, Craig Ferguson, whom I mentioned in the new book. Craig is a Scottish actor and comedian and one of my favorite people on the planet. Terry, this will break your heart. While we were on the set of my movie in Scotland, in the Highlands, he looked at me and he goes, and he's my favorite agnostic in the world. And he said, "Kathie, why do you love me and Ricky?" Because he knows I love Ricky Gervais, my favorite atheist. And he says, "Why do you love me and Ricky? We're not good guys. We don't believe anything that you believe." And I said, but you are good guys. And you're made in the image of God, and I love everybody God makes. And he goes, and this will break your heart. He said, "Kathie, no person of faith has ever told me or Ricky that they love us."
Wow.
And I said, "Then you've never met a person of faith." And he later, when we ended the shoot, I said, "I still don't believe in your guy." And I mean, our guy? He goes, "Okay, our guy." I said, "No, I know you don't, but you're on your journey." And I said, "But I do know that you would agree that the greatest life, if indeed he did live it on this earth, the one life that should be the model for a perfect human life, the way we should live and love others, it would be Jesus." And he looked at me and he goes, 100%.
Yes. You are
Welcome to the kingdom of heaven.
Positioned, Kathie, to reach into the hearts and to have conversations like this with people that aren't even available to most people. So God has very strategically placed you. What made you decide to write this book, The Jesus I Know?
Because my literary agent in New York is one of those people. He's so different from me on the surface, but I've discovered, as I know you have, Terry, through the years, our common ground is sacred ground. We need to meet. Remember when I was reading this morning, when the bush was burning but not being consumed, Moses approached it, and what did God say? "Stand back, take off your sandals. You're on sacred ground." Well, we need to take off our sandals. First of all, we need to wash other people's feet. Take off their sandals and love people. We don't do that anywhere near enough in our world or in our lives. And so, my literary agent is a man. He's gay, he's Asian, and he was raised Buddhist. But his favorite part of my last book, It's Never Too Late, was a story like the one I just told you about, Craig. He said, "Would you ever consider doing a whole book of stories like that will surprise people?" And I said, "Sure, if you think that's the next thing we're supposed to do, I'll pray about it." And then I thought I was supposed to. I prayed about each person that's in the book, set out to do these. These are absolutely word-for-word conversations with people that were agreed to do the book with me. And they will surprise you. People like Kris Jenner, people like Megyn Kelly, people like Jimmy Allen, people like Jimmy Wayne, people like, oh my gosh, China Phillips. One of my favorite ones is my longtime writing partner is a Jewish Scientologist. And his wife is Catholic Scientologist. Their son was raised in Scientology. Well, the amazing thing that happened is they went on a Rock Road and Rabbi tour with me. You got to read the book to find out what happened to them. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, it's a chemical thing that happens when the rock Jesus in the Holy Day on the Road and the rabbi rabbinical teaching all come together, it transforms some of the hardest human hearts. And let's just say that the boy, Nicholas, was the first one in the Jordan River.
Thank you for wonderful stories, Kathie. You always make Jesus so real, so touchable, and yet so holy. And we so appreciate that.
Kadosh. That's the Hebrew word for holy. Just wrote a song called Kadosh. Every day here, new song, new movie, new person to share Jesus with, and tell them for the first time maybe, because they don't know yet that God loves them. Imagine how we could change the world, Terry, if we just stop judging people and just start loving them.
Yes,
it's so simple.
One person, one day at a time. I want our viewers, Kathie, to know that your latest book is called The Jesus I Know. It's a beautiful cover, would make a great gift for Christmas or any time. It's available wherever books are sold. Kathie, a joy to have you with us, as always. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you, my friend.
Much love to you.
Welcome back to Washington for the CBN News Break. A federal bankruptcy court in Indianapolis confirmed a $380 million settlement Monday between USA Gymnastics and the victims of sexual abuse by former national team doctor Larry Nassar, among others. The settlement ends one aspect of the fallout of the largest sexual abuse scandal in the history of the U.S. Olympic movement. There were more than 500 victims. Over 90% of them voted in favor of the tentative agreement reached in September. Nassar abused more than 300 victims himself. Well, the United Nations has placed a giant statue in New York that some say resembles an end-times beast from the New Testament's book of Revelation. Here's a picture of the statue tweeted out by the United Nations. Countless critics on social media are saying the statue appears to be the likeness of the beast the prophet Daniel wrote about in the Old Testament and the Apostle John described in the book of Revelation. In its tweet, the UN said a guardian for international peace and security sits on the Visitors Plaza outside headquarters. The guardian is a fusion of jaguar and eagle and donated by the government of Oaxaca, Mexico. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.
We want to celebrate Christmas with you this year, so we put together a collection of free videos and features from our CBN family to yours. You can watch devotionals, over a dozen holiday movies, Christmas music, that's my favorite. We just have Christmas music on the background, and on your television is a whole bunch of Christmas scenes. Also have some recipes and so much more. Join us on cbnfamily.com, or you can download the CBN Family app onto your smart TV or smart device, and you can start watching today. Terry?
Trapped in the dark with no way out. That's how a single mother in Thailand felt when the COVID pandemic shut down her business and confined her to her home. She and her daughter were all alone with no one to ask for help. So how did they find a way out? Take a look. A short time before COVID-19 hit Thailand, Ploy lost her job. As a single mom, she didn't know how she would provide for her 6-year-old daughter. That was the first time CBN's Orphans Promise stepped in to help. We gave her equipment and supplies to start a business selling food in front of her house.
The business changed our lives. I made more than $20 a day, enough for rent, food, and my daughter's school fees.
Then the pandemic hit, and Ploy was forced to stop selling prepared food.
The government said all businesses had to shut down. People could not leave their homes. I couldn't sell any food. We were all alone. It was the worst moment of my life. There was no one to ask for help. I felt like I was trapped in the dark, and I couldn't find a way out.
That's when Orphans Promise came back to Ploy's community. This time we brought food packs filled with rice, eggs, noodles, fish, and milk. We also gave them hand cleaner and face masks.
My daughter said, "Look, Mom, they've come to help us. We've got food." I thought, we're saved.
After the government eased the shutdown, we also provided capital for her to buy food and other supplies to restart her business.
Business is better than ever. My daughter never goes hungry, and I'm saving part of my income again. I'm also able to share food with my neighbors. You helped us and brought us joy. Thank you.
I try to imagine what it would be like to be a mom with a child you're responsible for, to be shut in your house because of a government shutdown. No work, no food eventually, no opportunity, no hope for the future. And then you have an opportunity, if you're a 700 Club member, to come right into the middle of this situation and not just bring help for the moment, but hope for the future, answers to need. This mom is now doing such a great job supporting herself and her daughter. She's learning to build her business into a fine business. She has a great reputation with that, and she's meeting people's needs. So now her need has been met, and she's turned around, and she's helping to meet the needs of others and profiting from it at the same time. Thank you for helping us change lives. It's what's happening around the world. If you're not a 700 Club member, you are missing out on a great opportunity to make a difference. And it's such a small commitment. 65 cents a day, $20 a month makes you a 700 Club member. Now, we have different club levels that you can choose to join at if you'd like to. You can see the general membership in the top line, but maybe you'd like to go up to 700 Club Gold with a gift of $40 a month, or join our 1,000 Club level at $84 a month. Then we have a 2,500 Club level, a Founders level. Ask God what he'd have you do, and then pick up your phone, call our toll-free number, 1-800-700-7000, and say, I want to join the 700 Club. By the way, when you do, we want to send you this as our thank you, The Nearness of Heaven. These are stories of people who have, for one reason or another, died. They've gone to heaven in their experience and then been sent back, and they share what that has been like. I think you'll find it amazing. I think you'll find it encouraging, and I think it will inspire you. So that's our gift to you when you call. Will you call right now? 1-800-700-7000.
Brooke Jones stole a gun. At first, she just wanted to sell it for drug money. And then Brooke came up with a new plan. Use the gun to force the police to shoot her dead.
My life's over, you know, in my mind, who cares? I thought, if I go in here and rob this place, the police will come, they'll shoot me, that'll be it.
Brooke Jones grew up in a busy home with a working mother and stepfather. The oldest of 5 children, Brooke longed for the attention and acceptance she needed. Her grandmother was the only one who gave it to her, but that meant going to her poker games, where Brooke's life would take a turn.
There was some creepy old man on the couch, and I was supposed to be coloring, and he was, you know, just fondling me. I didn't want to tell my grandma what was going on because I didn't want her to send me home.
She was sexually assaulted 2 more times, and still, the now 9-year-old Brooke kept silent.
Those incidents definitely shaped how I saw sex. I viewed it as a way to please other people, or a way to fit in, or for people to accept me.
Making things more confusing, Brooke was enrolled in a Christian school at the time, where she learned about Jesus and the Bible.
I had that childlike faith, and I believed all of the Bible stories that we read. I can recall as a child praying for things and believing that he was listening.
That changed when she started going to public school at the age of 12. She quickly fell in with the wrong crowd, smoking weed, stealing, and having sex. Anything to get attention and be accepted.
I wanted people to care about me. When I became exposed to this new, crazy world, I jumped right in it.
Then at 13, when her parents tried to discipline her, Brooke started running away. The police would bring her back. Then the cycle would repeat.
And that put me in the company of some really dangerous individuals. I'm 13, hanging around 18-year-old men, 20-year-old men. engaging in sexual behavior with them to buy my place to stay, and they're giving me alcohol, and they do other drugs, and so I'm doing other drugs. It was overnight that I was emotionally just numb.
For the next 8 years, Brooke was in and out of her family's home. But when she stole money from her mother, she was kicked out of the house. By the time she was 23, she'd had 4 children and was trying to slow her drug use while raising them. That's when Brooke learned that her youngest sister, Jessica, the only family member she thought loved and accepted her, had heart failure and was going into surgery.
Everybody was praying, and I remember thinking God was going to answer that prayer. You know, he was definitely going to save my sister. But she didn't live.
Brooke slipped into a deep depression. After leaving her kids with family, she fell hard into drinking and doing cocaine.
I just had hit my breaking point. You know, when you're on drugs like that, you're sick of yourself. I didn't want to live. I just didn't have the courage to kill myself, I guess.
Strung out and using an unloaded handgun she'd stolen to sell for drug money, she began robbing stores, hoping the police would corner and shoot her dead. During one of the robberies, a bystander tackled Brooke and held her until the police came. She was convicted of armed robbery and sentenced to 25 years. Now forcefully separated from her children, Brooke began to consider their future.
I wanted to be back with my children. My kids suffered because of my decisions. I definitely wanted to get out and to be available for my kids, to be the stable parent figure that they needed.
Brooke was given a life recovery Bible, and that's when she started reading the stories she'd heard as a little girl.
I was ready to hear God because I was just as far down as I could go. I was reading the Bible. I was feeling peace. I was feeling God, you know, touching my life and touching my heart.
She also began listening to Christian music.
I felt Jesus speak to me through those lyrics. God reached me and was like, I can help you. I can change you. I prayed and said, you know, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give my life to you and let's see what happens.
Brooke started attending a Bible study in prison and continued to pray, grow her faith, and overcome her addictions. Then one day, after serving 11 years,
they told me my sentence had been commuted and I was gonna go home. I was stunned. It was a miracle. You know, it was forgiveness that only God can give.
Brooke received a full pardon from the governor of Kentucky. She immediately reconnected with her children, reconciled with her parents, and is now married to a Christian man. Brooke gives all the credit to God for restoring her life and for giving her the love and acceptance she always longed for.
There was nothing I could do or muster up within myself to make those changes, to change my heart. God was the only way to my new life. I don't have to look for acceptance in anyone or anything. I have found love and acceptance from God. His forgiveness, His pardon is waiting for me every single day.
And it's waiting for you every single day. He can be made new. You can be made new. He wants to come and make you new every single morning. Behold, all things are made new. That's what the Apostle Paul wrote. And here was a man who was known as Saul. He was known as a persecutor of the church. He was self-described, I was an injurious man. The Bible says he would put people in chains and drag them off to jail just because they were Christian. That's what he was doing. That's what his life was about. But then he says, this saying is true and worthy of all acceptance, that Jesus came to save sinners, of whom I am chief. Now, Brooke, she definitely had a hard way. She was molested, then a series of just horrible things happening in her teen years. And she goes down a route of drugs and alcohol. She's not thinking straight at all. And she wants to just end it. And she says, well, I can't do this on my own. I'll get the police to help me. But isn't it amazing what God is doing? Behind the scenes, he's working all things together for Brooks, for her good. Why? Because she's called. He's working everything together so that Brooke can be with him for all eternity. And he figures out a way to get her in a protected place where she's not going to be around drugs and alcohol anymore. She'll be able to get sober. And then in that place, he's going to make sure she gets a Bible that she can read about him. And then the transformation starts. And I'm being very intentional. It starts. Sometimes it's not instantaneous. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. And the transformation starts. In her, she's saying, I want to be new every morning. I want to be new every day. I want to change. And in that, she got a pardon. She got an early release. Her record wiped clean. All of this because she made a single decision to follow Christ and then followed up with that decision every single day. That's the key. It's that day-by-day walk with him where you can be made new every morning. Now, if this is for you, start realizing you're not watching me right now by accident. This isn't some coincidence. You're hearing good news. You're hearing that you can change. You're hearing you can be set free. You don't have to be addicted. You don't have to be a slave to drugs and alcohol. You can live a life of joy. You can have freedom. Isn't that wonderful? This can be yours. How do you have it? You ask for it. You do the same thing Brooke did. So bow your head with me. Let's pray a very simple prayer and let Jesus do for you what he's done for so many others. Pray with me. Jesus. Say his name. Say it out loud. Jesus. I come to you, and Jesus, I'm a sinner. And you came to save me. So come into my heart. Forgive me of the things that I've done wrong. Set me free from all these compulsions, all these memories. Set me free, for I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. If you prayed with me, let me know. I've got a free packet for you called A New Day. It's filled with Bible verses and how do you live the Christian life. All free. Call us. Here's a word from John. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.